Hey folks, welcome to Stepping Off with the DC Foot Doctor, episode 1. So this is my maiden voyage into the vast sea of podcasting. Thank you much for joining me here. Like this with a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you're seeing me here for the first time, this is actually my secondary channel. My primary channel is youtube.com/DCFootDoctor. That's where you see me do the things that you associate with podiatry, the nails, the corns, the calluses, and other procedures to improve foot health. So if you'd like to see those type of things, head on over there. Here on this channel, I'll be doing podcasting and other type of videos to talk more about the profession of podiatry, about foot care, and about other healthcare issues that will help you in the community. I'll also have guests join me here from time to time to talk about what they do and how things interact with podiatry and how we can help further the healthcare of our communities. So again, thank you for joining me. Like it with a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. So what I'm going to do to kick off this podcast is to talk about one of the things that grind me the most when it comes to foot care, and that's the myth that fungal toenails cannot be cured. I hear this far too often from patients, but the one that really gets on my nerves is hearing it a lot from doctors. There's this bad rap that the oral medications in particular are damaging to the liver, so they won't prescribe it to the patients, or if I prescribe it to my patients will go back to their primary doctors for other health issues, and the primary doctors will stop those medications. The real burner about all that, the patients won't even tell me, or the doctor won't give me a call to let me know that Mrs. Jones is no longer taking the medication. Ms. Jones comes back to see me in 2 or 3 months. I'm wondering why there's no improvement. I asked her what's going on. She said, well, my primary doctor said I shouldn't take it because it's going to hurt my liver. I said, well, why didn't you call me? Why didn't your doctor call me, fax me, email me something? Let me know what Sam Hill is going on. We could have changed it to something else, or we could have had a good conversation to convince you and the doctor that this is a good idea to go so you can get your toenails cured of this fungal infection. So then I end up having to do it on the back end and get the patient started all over. But we lose 2-3 months of treatment, but we eventually catch up if the patient decides to go that route. So number one, medications for toenail fungal infections, particularly the oral antifungals, are perfectly safe. The damaging liver myth comes from the fact that the medications that are taken orally to cure fungal infection are cleared from the body by the liver. Therefore, we have to be sure that the patient is a good candidate for the medications. And how we do that is we do blood work if necessary to make sure they don't have any underlying liver disease. Those who have a history of liver disease like cirrhosis or hepatitis, fatty liver, automatically are pretty much rejected from taking oral medications from fungal infections. Unless it's something that happened many, many years ago, then we'll do the blood test, clear it with their primary doctor, and put them on those medications if that medication is indeed necessary to treat the infection. Otherwise, there's other ways to deal with it, including topical medications or a combination of topical medications with a shorter term treatment or the oral medications. So what about laser, Dr. Jefferson? You ever do laser? And here's my problem with laser treatment for toenail fungus. Laser treatment for toenail fungus is not very effective in my eyes. There are a lot of doctors who do it, and they do it a lot. But in my experience with it, patients have come to me who have tried laser therapy for toenail fungal infection and have gotten very little to nowhere with it. Insurances do not cover laser therapy. That means they don't pay a dime. So laser therapy for fungal infection is completely 100% the patient's personal responsibility. Patients pay a lot of money out of pocket. I've had patients who've come to me after paying a couple of $1,000s or more to try to get this done by laser and had no effect, and they're very upset. So they come back to me to see what can be done. Part of the other problem that we see, why fungal toenail infection myth still exists, is that doctors are not testing fungal toenails to see what organisms are causing the problem. What I do here in my practice, and a lot of my colleagues do, is that we take samples of the nails when we trim them, send them to the lab, and the lab does 2 things. They scrape them and look at them under the microscope, looking for the presence of fungal infection, and then they run DNA tests on the organisms that they see. Once we know exactly what the name of the organism is, then we know exactly how to treat it. It's just like taking a throat swab or cheek swab or a nasal swab for other type of infections, or if you have a wound and that swab is taken to see what the bacteria are, so the proper antibiotic can be chosen. Same thing here with fungal infection. We need to know exactly what we're dealing with before we put medication at it. Sometimes we do these tests and it turns out it's not a fungal infection at all. It could be just from normal wear and tear over the years that's caused the nails to change color, thickness, brittleness, things like that. There's a lot of things that we see in nails that look like fungal infection, but are not, including like eczema, psoriasis, other skin issues that may make the nails mimic fungal infection. So we have to make sure we know exactly what we're dealing with before we unnecessarily put a patient on a medication, wasting time, energy, effort, and most of all, money. People get very frustrated when they waste their time and they spend money out of pocket, only to find out it's something they never should have been dealing with in the first place. Can you imagine what that's like? You shell out a couple of $1,000 for laser therapy, come back to me, I do the testing for the nails, only to find out you never had fungal infection to begin with. Now you're all out of all that money. You can't go back to the first doctor and get your money back. That's not the way it works. So it's better to go to a podiatrist who's going to test the nails to make sure that we know what's facing us, so we'll know exactly how to deal with it. Now, another thing I always have to make sure I get across to my patients is that treating fungal toenails is not quick. There's no quick fix. There's no magic bullet. There's nothing that we do that's available that can make this happen overnight. And the reason why that is because the nails that we treat for fungal toenail, those nails, those changes are permanent in those nails that we see that day. I can't take a real decrepit, jacked up, messed up, thick, crumbly nail and make that particular nail look good in a few weeks. That's just not the way the body works. Toenails are always growing from birth to the grave. Toenails are always growing. So are fingernails. That's why we have to trim them on a regular basis. So when we're treating fungal infection, whether it be oral, whether it be topical or a combination, what we're actually treating is the new nail that's growing in. New nail growth varies from person to person, but in the normal healthy adult, toenails can take 4 to 6 or maybe longer months in order to completely replace themselves. So we start a patient on a medication, let's say an oral in this instance, and we watch it over a 6-month period. Patients come to me every 2 or 3 months for observation and continued maintenance, such as trimming the nails and what have you. And then we see how things continue to progress. After about 6 to 9 months, I will decide whether or not the medication should continue or should be re-prescribed. Most of the time, between the 6 and 9 month period, we see what's going on. We see if we're been very effective in dealing with this. So when you see these commercials or you see these ads and you say, get rid of fungal toenail infection in 2 or 3 weeks, don't believe it. Buyer beware. There's nothing out there that's going to get rid of, especially the very worst cases, in just a few weeks. This is going to take months. I've had cases take a year or more to get cleared up. When I mean cleared up, not just looking better, but completely cured of the infection. You got to have diligence. You got to have patience. And you cannot give up on the medication or the treatment before everything is done. So give whatever you're doing at least 6 months before you and the doctor decide something needs to change. Now, another thing that patients fail on is that you just can't rely on any medication to get rid of this issue. I always tell patients just the medication alone is not going to do it. There's things that patients have to do at home. They have to put in that work at home to get this situation taken care of. Things like daily hygiene, of course, has to be done. Most people don't have a problem with that. After showering or bathing or swimming or in any situation where your feet get wet, you have to make sure that you dry your feet completely and dry definitely very well between the toes. Fungus loves moisture. So if you have moisture between your toes from bathing or if your feet are sweaty, fungus is going to be in there and it's going to continue to spread, continue to propagate if you don't take care of that. So you have to use a spray or powder between the toes on a daily basis to maintain a dry environment between the toes. You also have to disinfect your shoes at the end of the day. So when the day is over, you take your shoes off, you take your disinfectant spray, your shoe spray out the inside of the shoe from heel to toe. That kills any of the organisms that will continue to cause this issue. Then what you do is you put those shoes aside for a couple of days. Do not wear the same shoes 2 days in a row. Give them a chance to dry out and for those organisms to die. Those sprays, the Lysol and things like that, they work better when they eventually dry out, killing the organisms. If you just spray them out and just put the shoes back on the next day, you may not really get the effect that you want. All right? So keep those things in mind. Now, another thing that patients, I always tell them to do is to make sure they be regular with their medication. Most oral medications are taken once a day. So if you're going to take it once a day, take it the same time of day every day. If you want to take it in the morning, take it in the morning. If you want to take it in the evening, take it in the evening, but be very consistent with that. If you miss a day, I know that happens sometimes, people forget, things happen. Do not double up the next day. You're not making up time for that. You're just working the body, you're working the system a little harder. All right. Now, finally, what I want you to see is some cases that I've done to prove that fungal toenail infection is indeed curable. Again, I'm tired of hearing the mess. I'm tired of hearing the foolishness that you're going to have this forever. No, you're not if you follow the right steps. Here's a case right here. This lady had this horrific fungal infection for a number of years and had been to a couple of doctors and not much was done. Some other doctors, including podiatrists, have told her there's nothing that can be done with this. All she can do is get the nails trimmed every now and then to help them to look better. So I trimmed the nails, like I said, sent her to the lab, found out what the organism is causing the problem. I was able to put her on the proper medication. And here she is now. She's still a patient of mine over a year later, just for regular maintenance, making sure that the problem stays gone, that we keep things in control. She's an older lady, so it's hard for her to get down and trim her own toenails. So she comes to me on a regular basis every 3 months, like clockwork. She does not miss. She is not trying to have this issue again. Here's another case. A younger guy was having this problem for a long time. He tried a lot of things over the counter. Nothing was working. He wasn't getting anywhere. The nails weren't changing at all. So same process. Trim the nails, send it to the lab, saw what was what, put him on the proper medication, and bam, here he is, all cleared up, good to go. So folks, I'm here to tell you, if you've been told that fungal toenail infection cannot be cured, they're either lying or they have no idea what they're talking about, or they're too lazy to go through the process to find out what's going on. Okay? So what I suggest, if you've had fungal toenails or funny looking toenails for a long time, find a podiatrist who does toenail testing prior to starting medical treatment on them. Call around. Say, hey, I have this issue. I think I need to get my toenails tested before starting any medication. Do you do that? If that doctor says, I don't do that, let your fingers do the walking or let your mouse do the rolling around and find another doctor who will do that. There are a lot more of us that are doing this on a regular basis. All right, so thank you, folks. I've enjoyed this. This was fun. We're going to continue to do these things, do podcasts on a regular basis. Again, like it with a big thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Check out my primary channel for those other type of good things. And most of all, my folks, take care of your feet.